Okay, so Michael. So health, healing, and awakening for social anxiety. Social anxiety is not a curse, nor is it something to be ashamed of. Social anxiety has causes, and one of the main causes is fear of judgment. The common thread is fear. It can feel like there's no way out, but there is. The way out is going within. Nice. My role is to help clients include all parts of who they are in the healing process so they can become a catalyst for the positive change. The fear is one part, when included, has sensations, beliefs, desires associated with it, and they all have value, beginning with kindness that includes the fear and the resistance we have towards it slowly and organically opens our heart, mind, and body. The fear can become an ally and a portal to more freedom within when we are ready to look within, change is possible. Sorry, I did not mean to put the whole thing in. I'm glad you did. So, Michael, are you wanting some feedback on this? Are you just
yeah, that was my thought, just because I spoke with you before about changing my niche from working with highly sensitive people, and the conversation led me to consider social anxiety as the niche. So I just wanted to share that and see how that felt.
Perfect. So first of all, it's a good case study for everybody, because this is something I'm seeing a lot where people say, oh, my target market is highly sensitive people. But I would say highly sensitive people, that's a quality. Yeah. So what does that mean? 1 point. That's the outer ring. It's that being highly sensitive is not an issue. That's not a problem. That's just a part of who you are. So the problem is that maybe their extreme high sensitivity is making them easily overwhelmed. And it makes social situations difficult. That's the issue. And that's 1,000 points. But the fact that they're highly sensitive is just an adjective. And that's it. So is highly sensitive people a target market? I would say no. It's not. It's a nice icing on the cake. It's a sprinkle, but it's no more than that. However, social anxiety, well, that's an issue, isn't it? That's an ILNA. That's a real symptom. So now that's 1,000 points. So, and you see how quickly it can change. We went from like highly sensitive person, 1 point, to 1,000 points just by, okay, if they're highly sensitive, they're easily overwhelmed. But how does this show up? Social anxiety. Okay. Let's talk about that. Because then when Michael's working with them, he can say, one of the things that often has people be anxious is they're actually extremely sensitive. And so too much stimulus is just kind of short circuits them. And somebody's sitting there and they say, oh, I always thought I was just too sensitive. Right. Yeah, often people do. I thought there was something wrong with me. Yeah. So that point of view comes later, right? Relevance, credibility, value. Those three in that order. When we're mutually sitting down with a client trying to figure out if it's a fit, that's what we're going through, is those 3 steps, and it's those same 3 every time. The first thing is, for them, they're trying to figure out if this is relevant. So they meet Michael at a party. Great, he has their attention. The first role of marketing checked off, but the second role of marketing is filtering. So now, hey, Michael, what do you do? Now, if Michael says, I do this unique modality of, mindfulness and meditation, there's nothing about that automatically says relevance. If he says, I help highly sensitive people, they don't know what he means. Help them with what? Why do they need help? Is there something wrong with being highly sensitive? It doesn't immediately reveal itself. But if he says, how there are a lot of people who have social anxiety and like really bad, like they can't go out to many social events and they miss a lot of career opportunities or social opportunities just because they're so, and people say, oh yeah, I've been there, or I know. It's relatable. The relevance is there. Or, what could happen, by the way, is they say, nope, great. The professional conversation and portion of the evening is over with that person. If they just say nope and there's no recognition, you stop. You don't keep going with your shameless plug. It's like, oh, well, I help them. What do you do? And you move on in the conversation. But if they say yes, no, relevance is established. Now, the second thing is then credibility. Because then what they're going to say is, well, how do you do that? And then we get into the rest of what he said is, well, what I find is the obviously anxiety is a cousin of fear. And one of the big fears is this fear of judgment. This is what happens for people. And there's a number of things going on that create social anxiety. And one of them is fear of judgment. Another one is just that they're highly sensitive. And so they're overstimulated and they think something's wrong with them. And then they get overwhelmed, and then they're scared of the overwhelm. They're judging the overwhelm, like it becomes a vicious spiral. I heard somebody said an anxiety attack is the fear of the fear. The fear is just a sensation, but when you're scared of the fear, now you have an anxiety attack.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. So basically, this is great. This is just my extended thanks for coming swaggering around and peacocking in front of us with your brilliant copy. It's very good. A few tweaks I would just say is, okay, health, healing, and awakening for social anxiety. It's good. It's good. I think here's what I would do though, is I would try to do 25 different versions of that. The thing we want as the headline is just something that those people will read and say, that's me.
Yeah.
Now, if they would say, yes, I have social anxiety and what I want is health, healing, and awakening, great. But otherwise, you may be leaning a bit too heavy on your point of view and prescription diagnosis in the headline.
Yeah.
Like the crass version of the headline is just, do you have social anxiety? ? Now we can get fancier than that. But it might be a spiritual approach to social anxiety, or a holistic approach to social anxiety, because you want your people to also be into holistic things. So it also acts as a bit of a filter. You could do that. The headline could be the 3 causes of social anxiety. Because maybe they're just really curious about what the hell's going on. And then you say, yeah, well, the fear of judgment is 1. Being highly sensitive is 2. 3rd is this. Because that shit is so compelling. You're talking with somebody and they say, oh yeah, you help people with social anxiety. Yeah, what is that about, do you think? Like, why are people so, oh, because these things. Because if you can explain it and they're sitting there like, that makes so much sense.
Yeah.
And because that makes sense, I can see how this would work.
Right.
Wow, I should send do you have that card? That's what starts to happen.
Sure. Right.
But this is really good, Michael. It's very
That's helpful.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Can I just ask just quick follow-up? Just in terms of the social anxiety, using that term, because I'm not actually a clinical counselor. I've experience in studying this, but some clinical counselors or people who view that term may or may not define themselves as having social anxiety disorder. And if they see me using that term, they might think that I'm a specialist in that area. And I certainly have experience, but I'm not a clinical counselor. So I just want to protect myself from, and the client as well, right? So I just want to find that fine line of what to share and what language to use.
I would just name it in the write-up.
Right.
When it's coming to the offer, you're like, hey, and just to be clear about it, I'm not a counselor. I don't have a PhD in this. This is my credibility. My credibility is my own story or my own personal experiences. It's the experience of working with all these clients. You just tell them, here's what I've got. This is what I'm bringing to the table. And if that's credible to you, wonderful. And if not, I totally understand. If you want some letters behind the name, great. But we just be clear instead of pretending or posturing about it.
Yeah. All right. That's helpful. Thank you, Tad.
You're welcome, Michael.